I say I'll get right to you because I'm used to having a mic in my hand, but I don't need to go anywhere. So just raise your hand and I'll recognize you. Let's get those questions out here. The last time for this festival to be able to talk to these great people. So make sure that you get your question in.
In line with your musical introduction, I'd like to mention that kind of a funny story. We were doing a lawman, Lee Majors, a fall guy with Lee Majors, and it was Roy Rogers' 70th birthday, and we got a lot of Western stars together, and we all chased Roy in the posse. We tried to chase him. You can't catch him. There's no way to catch him on that horse. He was like a rocket. But we had a wonderful time, and one morning, Pat Buttram was there, you know, John's uncle, and we were all sitting around, had a fire there, and we were trying to keep our boots warm, and all these guys were there from all these various shows, and somebody said, well, where's Lauren Green? And Pat said, oh, he's out feeding this dog. You know, he was doing his Alpo commercials. So I thought that was
anybody's ever seen him, he's a funny guy. He was a very funny man. Got any questions? I've got lots of them, but I want to get to you people. So raise your hand. Let's start with some questions out here. Oh, come on. We're in school.
Yesterday we asked him questions. Oh, there you go.
Well, you don't have any more questions?
Well, I noticed that Mr. Quine found his glasses.
There she is. She's got one. Yeah.
Mr. Quine?
Mr. Quine. Mr. Quine, you found your glasses.
Mr. King.
Sorry.
Yes, ma'am. For Mr. Drury, you have a question for Mr. Drury. All right.
I know that you drive a lot going to all these festivals and what have you, and I'm wondering what you listen to on the radio.
What I listen to on the radio?
Yeah.
Country western, primarily, and classical.
Classical.
I have listened to a lot of classical. Beethoven, Tchaikovsky, Mozart. I can listen to Mozart all day and all night. Anything he ever wrote.
Debussy?
Huh?
Debussy?
Yeah, I hear Debussy.
Wow. Did you ever think you would hear that? So is this an acquired taste that you acquired along the way, or you always loved it?
We had classical music when I was a kid in the house. We had the old gramophone. We had the old 78s and the classical recordings of all the great symphony orchestras and stuff. I grew up with it. Always loved it.
Always loved it. That's fantastic.
I never knew, Charlie, that Roberta's favorite singer of all time, Justin Bieber.
Of all time. I mean, he's had such an extensive career.
I have never heard a Justin Bieber song.
Maybe you can get carried up the Great Wall of China with bodyguards. I couldn't name one either.
Justin Bieber.
Why?
You said it right.
Sorry.
That's okay. We can call him Queen if you'd like.
Have you ever heard the Willie Nelson song? She's a railroad lady, a little bit shady. Going home trying to make her way home on the train. You ever hear that song? No. Good song.
It's a classical song. It's a classical Debussy.
My kind of woman.
You know, Don, I want to ask you a question here. When we were riding in from the airport the other day, you were talking to me about why you left the show. And I found it interesting because a lot of people were doing, I'm going to let you tell a story if you don't mind, about the scripts. And how when you came on the show, that was fine writing, you loved the writing, but then what did you say about the scripts? Maybe this is new to the Bristol, and probably not.
Well, the scripts changed when they started the new family. The fourth season, because 3 seasons Lee J was in. The fourth season they brought what's his name? John Daner. And then the ratings had gone way down, so Universal was a big cash cow for Universal with NBC, and they were coming up into the 5th season for the renewal. They were really not feeling too good about things, so they brought Frank Price back in, who was the original writer, creator of the whole thing, and Frank decided that he would get a new family to come in, and he started with Charles Victor, and when he said to Charlie, he said, "I want you to have a grandson and a granddaughter," and he said, there's this young guy who's in Peyton Place, a guy named Joe Chernick, and his name's Don Quine. He's great. And it turned out that Charlie Victor and his wife were big Peyton Place fans.
Is that so?
And that's why when Frank said to him, he said, "I want him," and that was the end of it. So my agents were able to negotiate a real good deal. Now Charles is the one who's telling Frank Price, "I want Don Quine."
That's terrific.
Yeah, so that was the reason I did it, because the script, when we got the script, it was I was like, I didn't want to do it in the beginning because I thought, oh, Western, there's nothing but Westerns out there. They came, but the script came in, it was really, really good. And I thought, son of a gun, let's give this a try and see what goes on. And that's what happened. We did 3 or 4 shows, and they were all good. It was the writing was good, the family was good. It all just made a lot of sense. And then they put me out on the road. Remember, Jim, I went out and did that national tour.
Sure.
I went to about 16 cities and whatever. And then the ratings came in, and they shot from, I think they were in the 40s or something, and they went up into the low teens.
Yeah.
And it was a big, huge success for Universal. Renegotiated with NBC, got a great deal, and whatever. Everybody was thrilled and happy, and we thought, wow, this is fantastic.
Well, Charlie, he said to me, he said, "I don't know why the hell they didn't get me to begin with." They didn't want to be doing the show from the very start.
He really wanted to. He was perfect for it.
Oh, he was.
He was just perfect. But anyway, after we came back and the ratings got in, suddenly I got a script one day, and I went over to Charlie and I said, "This doesn't seem like it has anything to do with our family or anything." And he said, "Sure as hell don't." And then they just kept coming like that. They were just like, and I went to Frank after the second or the third one, and I said, "What's going on here?" And he said, "Well," and we were kind of friendly because we socialized. He and his wife, Catherine, was an actress, and he said, "Well, now that they've made their deal with NBC, what they want to do is they want to take the scripts from the previous 4 years and readapt them into the new family."
Idiots.
And I said, "You got to be kidding me." And I said something different, but you got to be kidding me. And he said, "No, that's just the way it is." And I said, "Well, this is it's stupid. Frank, it's stupid. I mean, they made the success over the fact that they had these good shows written by some good writers. Why?" He said, "It's out of my hands now. I mean, this isn't my decision." So I said, "Who?" And he said, "Talk to Lou Wasserman." I went to Lou Wasserman, who was the head of Universal. And I told him, I said, "What's going on here?" He said, "Son, this is the way the business is run." And I said, "Oh, okay. Well, I'm not going to be in it." And he said, "Oh, yes, you are." And that was the beginning of me trying to get out of my contract right then, because I knew it was just, not something I wanted to do anymore.
Well, I don't blame you. And I really, tell you the truth, I wasn't aware of that because I was moving too fast, if you know what I mean.
I do remember what you were moving real fast.
But, I wasn't that involved with the dynamics of what was happening with the family. I just got the script and slammed it into my memory and went and did it, and then I was on to something else.
Right. Doug and Jim were the show. I mean, they were the anchors of the show. So when they brought the new family in, we all kind of worked around that. It was good. It was good. And I just
But a similar thing that happened that happened to me. I noticed that the first year they had what they call a pattern budget, and it was $333,000. That's how much it cost to make a Virginia. The second year they had a big hit. The second year they wanted to drop it to $300,000, and I went home. I went home, and so they got back. Just like even the cameraman wanted a Chapman crane. Can't have a Chapman crane, too expensive. I went home, and he got the Chapman crane. So it takes going home to get anything done.
I've told the story about, remember Jim, I said he pulled out his gun and started shooting things, which he did. I wanted to say he shot a couple of them. But when the trams came over, when Lou Wasserman decided that he wanted to open it up and make it Universal City in the very beginning, these trams would come up, and Jim would say, I don't want any trams coming up while we're shooting the show. And
Yeah, how can you make pictures that way?
Yeah, it was like they'd come up and they'd be, and so, yeah, he was able to do that and get away with it, but nobody had the kind of...
Well, I didn't have to talk to Washington. I just went home and they changed stuff and I came back, you know.
He was the Virginian. And still is.
I tried that, nobody cared.
Well, you got the Virginian, you got a Trampus, and then you have Steve.
Yeah. Virginian, Trampus, and what's his name?
No, that's just Steve, which was an important part of the show. Yeah, Steve. You can use that. I did copyright.
If you want to know about Gary Clark and his ability to act, take a look at the Panther picture. Take a look at the Cougar picture. Well, I don't remember the title of it, but
Roar from the Mountains.
Roar from the Mountains.
Jack Kluger.
Yeah, Jack Kluger. You were so great. I mean, just absolutely great.
And Roberta, you know, being the woman on the show, did you ever have any trouble with any of these gentlemen on there? You know what I'm talking about? Now, come on.
I have a tendency to be as foul-mouthed as 10 sailors. When I'm disturbed with myself, when I've made a mistake, you could hear me in Burbank. You know? She'd be standing out there and she'd have to listen to all this blue language, and I mean it's blue. And I'm only talking to myself. I'm not talking to anybody else. I'm not shooting anybody else. I'm talking to myself. But it goes right out. It'll blow the roof off this church. So she comes up to me and she said, Mr. Drury, I don't appreciate hearing that kind of language. I wish you'd just stop it. I mean, all she had to do was say something. If I wanted to chew myself out, I'd go outside.
You probably have a different memory of that, right?
No, you remember.
No, I remember that.
I thought, well, if she doesn't want me to do that, I won't do that anymore.
Gary, did you ever go up to this gentleman and slap him in the face over something? Tell him, yeah.
Are you kidding?
I am kidding.
No, he's a boss man today, and he was a boss man then. You know?
I remember one time, and I don't know what it was about, but Randy Boone got really mad at me. We were in my dressing room, and we got drunker and drunker and drunker. Finally, I was standing there, and he threw a punch at me and hit me right in the jaw. As hard as he could.
Whoa.
Wow.
And I just looked at him. I just looked at him, and that was the end of that fight. Did you hear about what he was so mad about?
He wouldn't have done it had he not been drinking.
No.
I remember one time when Randy was on the show, he reminded me of this story. I didn't remember, but he was sitting under a tree outside smoking, and I didn't know at the time, I guess he was smoking pot. And I was raised a very strict Mormon, and I didn't have a clue. And I went up to him and really chastised him and told him that, that was going to cause cancer and all this sort of stuff. And he just chuckled.
Well, at least he didn't hit you.
There was one night, because of Jim, I thought I was close to death. We're riding down Sunset Boulevard, and I noticed that Jim is driving the car in front of me. I said, "Where's Jim going?" So I got behind. I start honking. You'll get a kick out of this. At the stoplight, he stops, gets out of the car, and he comes back toward my car like a bull. And I'm sitting with my fiance, second wife fiance, and I looked at her and I said, I am dead. He doesn't know. And he snatched the door open and he says, you home?
Did you know it was him?
Yes, he knew.
He saw he was. That's just, you're.
But he didn't tell me until I peed my pants.
No, that's what I
Oh, and Roberta. Roberta was always taking and talking about these wonderful vitamins, and she was like she told Randy she was trying to get Randy on vitamins and off grass. Of course, she had no idea what grass was. You've tried it since.
No.
Yeah.
Tell the truth.
No, but I do know what it is now.
So we're talking about it, and Doug and I were talking to her, and Doug and I just kind of looked at each other and knew one of us was going to say something. I don't remember who. And one of us said, where do you get your vitamins? Well, my mom gets them for me. Really? There is this new one that is just wonderful.
Oh,
you should get it. You should really try this one. Oh, what's it called? She's Spanish fly.